Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Today I'm going to be talking about Hotel California. And you may notice that I don't have the album sitting in my usual spot. The reason is I was invited by my friend Oswaldo Martinez of Let There Be Sound to come to his place for an informal listening session for 4 copies of Hotel California. And I said, yes, I would love to do that. I haven't had the record in many, many years, probably decades. This album goes back to when I was a teenager. I listened to it to death, the original pressing, and heard it on the radio so much that when I finally had let go of that album, I never sought to replace it until this day. And with the release of the One Step, I was a little curious about it. The One Step was announced a couple of years ago. Well, yeah, almost 2 years ago now. And I had thought about getting it. I put it on pre-order. But as time went on, I was like, nah, you know what? I'm kind of trying to avoid these expensive releases unless they turn out to be really something special. And I said, let me wait and see until I can hear it on another system. So finally that happened. Oswaldo had 4 copies of Hotel California to listen to. So I went over there for an informal listening session. This is not a blow-by-blow review. I'm just going to give you my impressions on what I heard. His system is really quite special. The turntable is a VPI Avenger reference. The cartridge is a Misonic Lab Eminent EX. The phono stage is a Vanda Hull The Grail. The line stage is a Heron Audio VTSP 360 reference ESP. The amplifier is a Prima Luna Evo 400, and the loudspeakers are System Audio Legend 60.2. It's hooked up with Nordos cables and is going through an Isotech V5 Aquarius line conditioner. We had 4 pressings of the album to listen to. So the original Lee Hulko cut was first off, and then we had the original Jack Hunt from Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. We also had the DCC from Steve Hoffman and the new One Step by Krieg Wunderlich. We had a very loose methodology, though. We listened to the first side on all of these pressings. Oswaldo was kind enough to prepare audio files for the first 2 songs, Hotel California and New Kid in Town. So you can listen to the files yourself. They'll be listed in the description box below. You can download them, and if you can play them over your main system, you'll have a good idea of what we heard as well. I felt side 1 really offered everything that we would need to make a judgment on what we had preferred. Now, of course, this is all subjective, but this is a very high resolution system, so it's more resolving than mine for sure. And I thought it was a good platform to really give these pressings all a fair listen. We started out in order of release. So the first one was the original pressing from 1976, I believe it is. Yeah, 76. It's inscribed with LH, Lee Hulko, and it has the other written inscriptions in the dead wax. So it's an original. It wasn't in perfect shape. It had a little bit of noise, and I think that's something that's common to a lot of the original pressings of Hotel California. It sounded like I remembered it sounding when I had it as a kid, a really good sounding record, somewhat compressed. The busy parts where the music gets loud and there's a lot going on can come across as a little bit harsh and forward, but it has that punchy dynamic sound that we all fell in love with. And it's a good sounding pressing. Not my first choice, but I could live with it if there wasn't something else available that was a little bit better. The noise did bother me a bit, but even listening through that, vocals sounded natural. The mid-range sounded good. There was enough grunt in the bass to make the songs come alive. It's just the top end was a little bit harsh in points. The slower songs like New Kid in Town and Wasted Time came off very well on the original pressing. The Mobile Fidelity was released several years later in 1984. This is the original Mobile Fidelity on the JVC Super Vinyl. It's an all-analog mastering by Jack Hunt. This, like most MOFIs of that time, presents everything in a much cleaner fashion. So it's an audiophile approach. Everything is laid out very nicely. You hear all the detail, less noise, and actually very, very quiet vinyl. But I mean, in terms of the compression and stuff, it's much more open. It has a not bright top end, but airy top end, and a nice solid bass as well. It really shines though on the slower tracks. The piano in Wasted Time sounds beautiful, as well as the vocal, and New Kid in Town just is gorgeous. Really, really beautiful. It's a nice pressing, but still not what I would consider my top choice for this record. For me to get this record again, it has to be really special. And I was entertained with these first two, but I was not completely impressed. The MOFI tends to be kind of like a pretty sonic canvas. It's really nice sounding, but it doesn't really grab. It kind of sits there and looks good and sounds good, but it doesn't have that drive that I would expect for Life in the Fast Lane and even Hotel California. Life in the Fast Lane really needs to jump, and it didn't really grab me on this pressing. The next one is one from Steve Hoffman from DCC. This was released in 1992, and it's one of the few DCCs I passed on because honestly I was pretty burnt out on Hotel California at that point. I didn't feel like I needed to get a new pressing. Big mistake. Because as soon as the needle hit the groove on the DCC, I was like, I can't believe this sounds so good. I have never heard it sound so good. What a beautiful, beautiful mastering. Steve did a fabulous job on this, and I can see now, well, I checked Discogs, and I can see why it's such an in-demand album. Not only is it a little rare, but it sounds incredible, incredible. Just a lush, beautiful mid-range with the vocals sounding perfect. It has a push and a grunt in the bass, like on Life in the Fast Lane, that just hits you and it jumps out, and it's like, wow. The top end is perfect. It never is harsh, but it's very detailed. The guitars ring true. They have gorgeous tonality. The tonality on this is perfect, and what a delight. I was riveted to the DCC for the whole album, and I can't say that about the other ones. On the other ones, there was always points where I was criticizing. Not on the DCC. It was smooth all the way through and had all the impact and beauty that this record offers. The vocals were just gorgeous, especially on the last cut, Wasted Time, and New Kid in Town was just beautiful, just beautiful. The other two rockier tracks came off extremely well. The guitars, especially that open Hotel California, just had perfect tonality and detail without ever sounding harsh or compressed. It's one of those masterings that's just so wide open. You could just turn it up as much as you want and you're not going to get it to fall apart. On the other ones, the earlier ones, that wasn't really the case. So I really liked the DCC, and I'm like crying because I was like, looked at Discogs and I was like, oh my God. Okay. I'm going to have to pony up if I want that one. So that brought me to the One Step. Now, I have the Eagles self-titled One Step, and I thought that was very good. I thought they did a great job on that. I didn't get the other titles because I wasn't that interested, but Hotel California was one that I really thought, I should have. It is a well-recorded album. It could sound really great, and I think the One Step could do it justice. So I had it on pre-order for a while, but I decided to cancel it at one point because it wasn't really because of the scandal. It was because I was having such problems with quality control and a few mediocre masterings for the last several One Steps. Oswaldo and I covered Elvis and Memphis One Step. I'll leave a link above and below. We collaborated on that video, and that one I found not to be the best pressing, but I also had many quality control problems with that one. I had to replace it 3 times. So after that, I was like, I kind of washed my hands of it, and I said, I'll just wait until I could hear these records somewhere else before I jump on a $125 purchase. Also, the masterings like on CSN, I didn't really care for. And Tapestry and a couple of others before that, they all had some sonic issues that didn't really rock my boat, and they don't get played very much around here. So I had to be really sure. And this was a perfect opportunity to hear all of these on a beautiful system and really make a judgment call for myself. Your results may vary, of course, but this is what we heard, and we were pretty much in agreement. We put on the One Step. Now, of course, side 1 is broken into two sides. It's at 45 RPM. It's on super vinyl. It's very quiet. It's plenty dynamic. It has great bass and punch and drive. That was good. The one thing about this that I didn't like is, and it was immediately apparent, especially coming off of the beautiful DCC pressing, is the tonality. The guitars, right in the first strums of the guitars, I could tell, oh my God, again, the detail is emphasized, the tonality is off, the EQ is not to my taste anyway. I can see how some people might like that super hyper detail, but I really don't like that approach. And Oswaldo really didn't either. He was like, they sound like mandolins. And I was like, yeah, they don't sound like they did on the DCC, that's for sure. It has many strengths, but in my view, for my taste, I don't like super bright masterings where details are pushed out too far. And that's what I got from the One Step. Others may feel differently. I think on some systems that tend to be darker, this might kind of make them come alive. But on a high resolution system, it really didn't work. And that's a shame because it's a really important album and it would be nice to have a definitive pressing, but the definitive pressing already exists. It's the DCC. And I would love to get that. And if I were going to spend $125 on a copy of Hotel California, I would definitely go for the DCC. Unfortunately, they maybe start at that in VG plus condition if you're lucky. So if you find that, grab it because it is stunning. We played, just for curiosity, after our little listening session, he said to me, hey, have you ever heard the Abraxas One Step? And I was like, no, I've never heard it. Please put it on. He put that on. Now, this is their first One Step and their first attempt. And they made a big splash with it. It was considered quite good. And it was amazing. I was like, wow, what's going on here? Because there was things coming at me from everywhere, but it wasn't pushed out detail. It was totally natural. Gorgeous percussion, wonderful sound effects, the chimes, the bells, and the opening of Singing Winds, I guess it is. And then into the rocky track, Black Magic Woman, I guess it is. Yeah. Powerful, beautiful, natural sound. And that's what I would expect from a One Step. And sometimes we got it, but many times we didn't. Many times we got this pulled apart kind of presentation, highlighting this, highlighting that, bringing up this, bringing up that. It's so tweaky, you know, and I don't like that approach. I'd like it when they just do a straight transfer with tasteful adjustments. And that's what Steve Hoffman did. It's tasteful, very tasteful. Tube mastering does it wonders. And this record never sounded better. I fell in love with the record on the DCC. I just wish I could get a copy now. And it's funny because it's a record that I had totally burnt out on. And this changed my mind. So that is what we found with the Hotel California One Step in our comparison. Let me know what you found in your evaluation of the record. And until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.